Your habits today will really form your biology tomorrow, which is why we see a rapid increase in Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, Parkinson's, and hypertension. It's because people are really trading in their health for their goals or their wealth.
Welcome to the Write, Learn and Earn show. Many of our authors are struggling to find the time and the stamina to write their dream book because they've just got so much already on their plate. Now, if you're one of them, I have some excellent news for you because I really understand that pain of multitasking myself. So I've invited Joni Peddie to join us. Joni is going to demystify resilience by sharing some practical neuroscience-based tips to help us so that we can maximize our performance as authors. This is something that she helps companies with through her keynotes, her workshops, and her executive coaching. Now, as authors, we need some help to build that resilience because sometimes we're just so flippin' exhausted. Joni, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's a great pleasure to have you. I know that you're also an author and you've co-authored several books, so you're the perfect guest for our audience. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the area of resilience.
So Kim, years ago, I started my business as a behavioral strategist, to be precise, 32 years ago. And I really looked at what clients needed, and I focused on corporates. So leadership teams and executive teams where the stress is high and the demands are high. And I started out mainly doing work on the Enneagram and personality and people understanding how their brains are hardwired. And then I realized actually in 2018 that, yes, we've got to play to the strengths of our Enneagram type. And to my left here, you see the 8 competencies of emotional intelligence. But actually resilience, I started researching and I collaborated with a UK company and the largest EQ network in the world, 6 Seconds, to research, craft and design a resilience assessment. And I was self-reflecting on my own life and having lost a husband 17 years ago, and rebranding my offerings after that to bounce forward. So how do we work, lead, and live? We never bounce back after change, adversity, or any stressful event, or even chasing an opportunity. We have to bounce forward. So the resilience crafting came around that thinking time in 2018, and I collaborated with these 2 big companies. We did all the major research in 2018 and 2019, and then we launched our resilience assessment beginning of 2020, just as the world changed. So I know that resilience is a 4-legged table. So if you want a really sturdy table, you work on, you rest on, you eat off, you need 4 strong, equally lengthed legs. So resilience is an overused topic, and it's an umbrella statement for many things. But the research shows that there are 4 key pillars to resilience. There's mental resilience, there's emotional resilience, there's physical resilience, and there's sense of purpose resilience. So that's what's got me into being an expert in that field, is designing a world-validated and reliable assessment, and also being able to then, once people have taken the assessment, is coach and train them in how to self-manage in a world of turbulence, change, and an onslaught of uncertainty, especially in your world of writing books and generative AI and lots of other things happening which can derail us.
So resilience is something I actually know a lot about. I wrote my first book from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. every morning, 6 days a week for that very first book. It really took its toll. So some time ago, one of my readers treated me for a massage because I had a little bit of writer's block. Now, when you get to the beauty salon, they usually make you fill out this questionnaire, which you tell them what your skincare priorities are. I told them that I had to reverse the 5 years of aging so that I could reclaim that youthful appearance I had before I started writing the book, because the pace was quite heavy. The reality is that many of our authors are writing at that kind of pace, and they're working after hours to write their books. When they come from home, before they go to work, sometimes they might even squeeze in a little bit during their lunch break. So what advice would you give to those people who just don't have a lot of time in the day, but they need to be sharp to wrap up their book after hours?
And of course, that's choice. So if I go back to, resilience, being more specific with what it is that you've made a choice to write part-time, either as you did, Kim, early in the morning for 4 hours, lunchtimes, or after work. And that's a great choice. So you need to be comfortable with that is your choice, and that is the sense of purpose and your vision. So that's one leg of your table. That's brilliant. So how do you manage your energy? And it's really, as authors, it's mental energy. How do you handle your cognitive flexibility, your flow, your creative thoughts, the plot, etc., etc.? And that's taking into account your brain science. So your brain is an organ that needs to be fed, it needs to be well watered, it needs to be well rested. And we need to take into account what kind of brain you have. Now, there are some people that are, I'm just looking at my other piece of my brain here because it's visually more impactful. There are some people that are, early morning larks. You seem to be, Kim. I am as well. I do my writing of my books in the morning, and my brain is freshest. So the early morning lark, if that's your modality as a person, your prefrontal cortex, your whole brain is firing on all cylinders. You'll have a few habits that get you into the flow of your writing, and that's fantastic. If you're lunchtime and you can do snack writing over lunchtime, that's awesome. Go from work to, writing a bit, you manage that time. So you need to manage the inputs of your brain to manage the outputs of writing. So the inputs of your brain are certainly food. So energy in the brain means the brain needs to be well fed. What does that mean? And I'm not talking diets here. I'm very anti-diets. It's diet with a T. But I am very pro 6 different colored foods on your plate per day as a natural foods. That's not Smarties or Jelly Tots. So if you can eat raw and as close to nature as possible, you're going to input into your brain the right energy. Your brain consumes about 20% of all the energy that you take in. So if you want to think well, write well, be creative, sweat that asset called time, you really need to feed your brain adequately. So forget about sugar, forget about carbohydrates, think about fruits and veggies and proteins of your choice. That's important. The second important part in terms of brain energy is the watering. So yes, I love coffee, and I'm not against coffee, but on my desk, and I walk my talk with everything I do, this is actually ginger, lemon, and a bit of honey and hot water. So balance out your hydration of your brain. We know that if you're waking up early morning to write, your brain has gone from a grape overnight to a little raisin as you wake up. So your brain is busy all night, and it gets rid of beta amyloid and a lot of other toxins, and it shrivels. So you need to rehydrate your brain well. And even if you're waking up at 3 a.m., you don't need caffeine straight away. You absolutely want to rehydrate with some water or hot water, and only then have your coffee afterwards. That's also going to manage your brain state later in the day when you are perhaps back at your workplace. So that 2 o'clock wildebeest nod when you're trying to, get through a meeting in the workplace could be because your adenosine buildup is built up really quite dramatically from your earlier start. So please, another habit and tip and biohack is to have water before you have caffeine when you wake up if you're going to write in the morning. If you're writing in the evening, if you're an owl, so you're different to a lark, is again manage the caffeine. Caffeine is a big productivity inducer, but it's also a big brain drain. So when I'm writing at night, I absolutely still keep the habit of not having caffeine for 8 hours before I go to bed. Because what we do know is, yes, if you're writing and managing work, you're going to be tired, so you're likely to fall asleep quite quickly. However, you are not going to get deep stage 4 sleep. Deep stage 4 sleep is what really detoxifies your brain and enables you to be productive the next day. So even if you're writing at night, and let's say you're going to bed at midnight, I would not have a cup of coffee after 3:30 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So caffeine has an 8-hour half-life in your body. So manage your caffeine if you're writing in the morning, manage your caffeine if you're writing in the evening. Make sure that you always habit stack. So for every cup of caffeine, you have a cup of water, hot water, or plain water, so that the brain is well watered. So that's the feeding, that's the watering. And then for brain energy, Kim, we also need exercise. Now, I know that people who are time poor trade in their exercise. In fact, you'll see behind me here, I'm a sleep expert, and I speak a lot about the fact that when you have insufficient sleep, you're writing a book, you're going to skip your exercise. You're then going to feel stressed, too much cortisol in your brain, and not enough of the good serotonin and dopamine. You're then going to probably eat badly, the rubbish food, and then your sleep cycle is just a vicious circle. So even if exercise is really just 30 seconds or 1 minute per hour, you are going to feed that dopamine, serotonin, anandamide into your brain. And you need that for creativity, and you need that for productivity. So on my desk, and I've just done it before we set up this call, Kim, because I've been on call since early this morning coaching people online, is that I've got my cordless skipping ropes. So literally, I didn't have time to go outside and jump on my trampoline because I was waiting for our call, as I got up and I skipped for 30 seconds. We know that when you're sitting writing or you're sitting doing any kind of work, your good cholesterol goes down by 40% every 2 hours of sitting. So as an author, you want to get up every hour if you can and still be in the flow. Don't move away from your desk. Do 10 squats, order some cordless skipping ropes from me, but actually get fresh oxygenated blood to your brain. So writing part-time is a choice, and well done on making that choice, but don't make that your excuse, because you can't bat for two teams. You've decided mindfully to run the 2 railway tracks simultaneously. Excellent choice. Then you've got to manage how you eat, move, and sleep. You've got to manage your reframing of your brain without Victoria victim mode, oh, poor me. And you've got to manage your emotions in terms of actually, how is this serving me? How am I inching towards my goal? Have I set realistic targets? Am I setting myself up for failure if I'm having to deal with a physical injury and take pain medication? We've really got to be more mindful about this whole topic of self-compassion as well. So great to be an upcoming author or writing your second or third or fourth book, but also be quite realistic about self-compassion and self-management. I'm finding globally now, and I'm doing a lot of work globally, is people are setting themselves these unrealistic goals and not self-managing well. So your habits today, however you start to, reduce sleep, instant gratification on food, not rehydrate properly, and no exercise, will really form your biology tomorrow, which is why we see a rapid increase in Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, Parkinson's, and hypertension. Is because people are really trading in their health for their goals or their wealth.
I went from drinking no coffee at all to consuming up to 6 cups a day when I was writing that first book. And it made me feel terrible. I went from not exercising at all to walking 40 minutes every morning. And to my surprise, this actually sparked a lot of creative ideas. I didn't have a reduction in the creativity. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I had so many ideas popping into my mind when I started exercising that I had to decide on which ones I was actually going to land first. I also changed my diet. I started my day with an omelette and some spinach and an orange if it was in season, and I always started by hydrating. Because as a mom of 3 children, I knew that I needed to take care of them, and I also have a heart condition. So it's crucial for me to be able to change and prioritize my health. However, some months back, I fell down the stairs and I had to sit in bed for over 6 weeks. That lack of mobility really put me into a terrible space. My depression levels increased and I could actually feel the difference because of the lack of exercise. Although my diet remained the same, I just found that the drop of activity made a massive difference. And I had to really work hard on my attitude because the absence of exercise knocked me in ways that I couldn't actually imagine. And that's why it is very important for me to have someone like you on the show, so that authors understand what it means to build resilience and help them get those books written.
It's a very big topic, so I'll maybe drill it down to perspectives on that topic. So having journeyed through a trauma, it really depends on what stage you're at. We know that there's 10 stages of trauma journey. So if they're at a level of acceptance, then writing about it can be quite easy. If they are still journeying through it and using writing as a modality to get to acceptance, it would be a different pathway that they've taken. So it really depends on where they are at their journey. But if I had to say, in writing and expressing your processing of your trauma, probably better to do it if you're going to publish it to the world, probably better to do it when you've done your counseling, you've done your trauma therapy, and you're at that level of acceptance, because then you can provide more value for other people, because you've got perspective, you've got hindsight, you've got reflection, you've integrated your new step change in life. And obviously you can pull in other things that can make it really much more readable, your book much more readable and enjoyable. If you are using writing to process your trauma, it's incredibly healthy. We know that, but that may not be the book you publish, or maybe you publish 1 or 2 books for your children or significant others. So it really depends on how you're addressing it and what is your purpose, and how you're driving this towards your purpose, because that would be very different for each person in their trauma state.
Thanks so much for that advice that you've shared with us. It has been really beneficial to me, and I can tell you it's going to be very beneficial to our authors. So remember to make sure that you have those 4 pillars in place. Now, Joni, if someone wants to get hold of you, how would they go about doing that?
LinkedIn is the best way. So I actually write, as you know, Kim, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on LinkedIn on anything on behavioral strategy and self-management. And LinkedIn, just send me a request to connect, or send me a message if we are already connected. Joni Peddie, Joni, and Peddie is spelled Peddie.
So there you have it, authors. If you're ready to experience a new, more energized version of yourself and your team, make use of these super tips and reach out to Joni. She is a professional keynote speaker, a behavioralist specialist, specializing in maximizing team performance. And as an executive coach, she helps companies all over the world as well as individuals. So please reach out to her for your next conference. Bye for now.